Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Thursday. It is March 23rd, 2023. Please note this event has been recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you, throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you're welcome to enter your comments there. Also, you are welcome to put in your contact information. Let everybody know who else is out there on the call. This is all about networking. Network with everybody else who's out there right now. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morse. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I'll tell you about our upcoming session at the end of this meeting that we have coming up tomorrow. And since 2007, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Remember, your resume, your LinkedIn profile is not going to get you a job. What it will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. Well, every session we talk about networking. Networking is basically all the same thing, but every session we have a different speaker who talks about networking from a little bit different point of view. Hopefully you'll pick something up out of this session and take it with you in your job search for the next step forward, going forward from here. Today, our speaker is Tom Jackson. He's a cybersecurity leader. He's a director of and vice president in a vice president role. Today, he's going to talk about how to network. This is a pre-recorded session, so I'm going to start the recording. If you have any questions, please just put them in the chat window. We'll get those answered for you at the end of this session.
Jeff, can you see?
Yep, good to go.
All right. So I'm going to talk about how to network. And as Jeff mentioned, I think important is
Hey, Jeff, the audio is not coming through for me.
this area is how.
Me neither.
Oh, by the way, please go ahead and ask questions in the chat there. So
Can you hear it now?
get them.
I can. It's a little quiet. I don't know if you could turn it up at all.
I'm trying to move the slide. There we go. Got to hit a little harder. So I think one thing to realize in the job hunt is, there's a lot of pressure. It's frustrating, but I think a few things you need to understand. You got to look at the positive aspects of a lot of this. One is, Texas particularly is a great job market. One can debate, but typically Texas, Dallas, Houston, but basically if you look at the top, the major metro areas with the top Fortune 1000 company headquarter, Texas is number 2, really just right behind New York. And if you look at and you're looking at 50 companies tying the amount of revenue yearly. So Texas is a very rich market for companies, Fortune 1000s, Fortune 100s. And if you think Fortune 100 companies spawn more companies, spawn more businesses, spawn an ecosystem. So being in those markets is really key for growth and to find a job. One thing to keep in mind too is Texas is incredibly diverse across the industries. We got Toyota, we got healthcare, we got finance, we got semiconductors, telecom, cyber. There's a lot of different areas where New York, honestly, those 58 companies, probably 57 of them are banks. But it's a very, very rich market. I think the other thing to look at from a COVID perspective is, wasn't that much fun, but it did, I think, improve the landscape for us. It's kind of like when a tsunami hits the beach, it uncovers the wreck and the gems. One thing is interviews are easier. I mean, think about it. It used to be companies were a lot more judicious with interviews because it cost them money. We got to fly them out, put them in a hotel. It was tougher, I think, to get interviews. Where today, interviews, it's easier because it's a phone call, it's a Zoom call. Now, with that, there's a price. The follow-up, they go dark. Well, we're going to talk about that. And lastly, I think the advantage here now is so many companies are going remote. So it used to be you just had to really, really hope that your next job is going to be a great job that would make you happy in your backyard. Now you can interview for jobs in any coast of the country and probably work out of Dallas. So this has not only improved the hiring company's ability to get more candidates or look outside their backyard, but it's also increased the number of, if you look at it, valued targets for you, the job hunter. So keep in mind, there is definitely there's definitely good things happening. So first thing we hit right off the bat, I don't think anybody in here would disagree that they either don't believe or haven't been told networking is how you're going to find your next job. True. But the question is, how do you network? What does it mean? So, if you go to Webster's, networking, the exchange of information or services among individual groups or institutions, right? Well, that sounds interesting, but, what does it mean? How do I get this thing called networking working? And I think, one thing I do when I look at networking, and again, a lot of this comes from the business background as well, marketing, sales, working with clients, networking is key when you're in a working environment. I think I break networking into 3 buckets. And you'll see why in a second. I think one, there's passive networking. This is the kind of thing you're going to do with your immediate friends, your family, maybe coworkers, people from church. These are the people that if your kid's selling Girl Scout cookies, you're going to sell Girl Scout cookies to right away, right? Because they're easy touches, they're happy to help, and that's passive networking. Everybody knows that. Step 2 is active networking. Now, active networking is where now you got to take the show on the road a little bit. So now, using my Girl Scout cookie analogy, so this now is where mom or dad takes the cookies to work. The kid sells them on the side of the road. Or better yet, maybe, they go ahead and start advertising on Facebook. They're getting more aggressive. They're reaching outside of their own community, their backyard. So keep in mind, active networking is where a lot of you are now through Career DFW. Keep in mind, you're in an active networking environment. Every time you get on a call like this and there's people there and there's names there, are you writing them down? Are you reaching out to those people? Right? I'm on these calls too. And the first thing I do, I look at that Zoom call screen with all the little tiles and pictures. And to me, first thing I do is, who on this call don't I know or have I not talked with yet? Okay. Because that's in my, I have an analog iPhone. It's called a Daytimer. And I write everything down in there. And one of the things I do every week is I set a minimum goal for how many people I'm going to contact. Right? That's my goal. And it's easy to reach that goal if you're using the tools that are given. I cannot tell you how many of these groups I've been to where I feel like I'm the only person reaching out. Most of them are not. So again, active networking, go in there, go to your colleagues that you may have worked with. This may not be coworkers, could be clients, could be people you just know from business, your LinkedIn connections you haven't talked to in a million years. Persons at networking events right now is really good, really critical. And that's better. I think a lot of people tend to move from passive to active networking fairly quickly. They don't execute it well because they're I'm here waiting for the game to come to them. What you're going to find with networking is you've got to be aggressive. And that takes me to the last step, aggressive networking, reaching out to complete strangers. Okay, this is the best form. And what do I mean by complete strangers? Just what it says. So imagine like I'm in cybersecurity. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. I'm going to type in cyber and it's going to give me a list of names. I don't know them. They don't know me, but I want to network with them. That is a complete stranger. And that is aggressive networking because I'm going to go to them. Okay. And if you really look at building your game here, this networking is going to help you get into the companies, make those contacts, find those people that can help you, the hiring managers, people that will carry your name through, that will champion your cause. But you've really got to be, in my opinion, aggressive. So one of the things, how to network, okay? How to network, rule number one, think like a salesperson. I mean, the best salespeople out there are the best networkers, okay? And what that means is, if you're in sales, I was in sales and it took me months when I was out of work to realize, wait a minute, I can do this. I do this every day because, I got a sales team. It's me. I got a product. It's me. I got a sales brochure. I got a resume, right? I got a web page. It's LinkedIn. I mean, what else do I need to launch a product, right? So basically, that's one reason it's important to have that market plan, that resume, those T letters, that 30, 60, 90-day plan. These are not just props. These are things that if you were working today to sell you would need them. People are going to ask for them. So that's one reason you create them. They are important to have. Keep in mind too, your sales pitch. So when you have people in a lot of these organizations where you have an opportunity to do your pitch, right? Doing your pitch, if you really think about it from a sales perspective, it's not just to memorize a bunch of words. It's to really help you think through the thing very thoughtfully, to reduce it to really the most concentrated keywords that you need, and to be comfortable saying it at any moment without a, hold on, give me a second, clear your throat. Hi, I'm Tom Jackson. I do cybersecurity. I'm looking for a job. Thank you. That's not going to get it, right? So really, all the things you've been learning are going to be key to this thing called networking. Be confident. And I'm going to talk about that right here in a second. You've got to be confident, and you can get confident. You don't have to pretend you can be it, because aggressiveness is confidence, right? Think about football player. The guys that are just pounding through that line that are super aggressive are confident they're going to get to the quarterback, right? It's the same here for you. People think aggressive is, aggressive just means you're going to push through, you're going to persevere. And especially in networking, it's very, very critical, just like it is in sales. People are not going to always call you up to buy things from you. You're going to have to take it to them, and you're going to have to figure out how to find them. And when you do, you've got to be confident, and you're going to have to be aggressive. Rehearse your pitch. Now, this area here, I think, is very, very critical. It's a couple bullets, but I'll just cover off what I mean. There's a lot of ways. I call it PAR, sales, golf, but PAR is problems, action, results, right? This is something that you have done or are doing, where part of your interviewing approach, part of your, coming from a good marketing plan, coming out of your pitch, if you would, are going to be built on your past. Problems I've had to address, actions I've taken, and results. Okay. There's no difference with a good salesperson. They're basically using PAR, right? You need a new car and this one's got good fuel efficiency. I mean, it's basically have that pitch, get all your own data and know it. You don't have to memorize it. You just have to read the resume. Any line item in your resume, if you can't create a PAR for it, probably needs to come out, because you want to be able to have actionable things you've done in your resume, so that if somebody's interviewing you, they can say, well, hey, Tom, over here, you said you've increased revenue by 30%. Boom, brain goes to the problem, action, result that I can map to it. This is going to be critical for networking. Number two, how do I get confident? Here's one thing I've done, and I still do it today. I say yes to everybody. When I get that phone call, that spam phone call, and I can't even understand them because they barely speak English and they want to interview me for a job that I have no desire to take, I say yes. Because the more I can tell another person that I don't even know about me, answer their questions about me, the better I get at communicating, the more effective, the more efficient I get. So again, just because it's for a junior entry level job for somebody 6 months out of college, I'm old enough, I don't even remember what college I went to. I still say yes, because it's a practice opportunity. It's a live fire exercise, because the more you do these, when it comes time for that right job, that right interview, you're going to be confident because you've already gone through your par. You've had people ask you crazy questions. You're get very, very good at it. It becomes part of your DNA. And again, that's the confidence that you're going to need to be aggressive with your networking. So say yes to some of these calls. If you get an email, I get them 10 times. I don't even know how many times a day. You know, hey, Tom, are you interested in a job that doesn't pay, that's going to be long hours, that's going to ruin your health? Sure, I'll interview with you. You know, I just want to get the call. I want to talk to these people because it helps me get better at selling me. Now, and that's where I get to practice makes confidence. So that's where a lot of people, I think, when it gets to networking, things kind of tend to stall out. This is all good to do. Maybe taking on a complete stranger, recruiter you don't know, might not, some people, not a problem. Some people might get a little nervous. I don't know them. But for the most part, I think these are things that almost anybody can do. But what happens now is you've got all this material done. You've gone through Career W. You've been all the speeches. You've got your kit. You've got your everything ready to go to launch you. Again, you want to continue passive networking. Don't ever give up on neighbors, friends, right? Continue. You want to step up that active networking. But what you really want to do is start this aggressive networking. You want to start reaching out to complete strangers because keep in mind, step 1 and step 2 are, it's pretty much everybody I know, plus or minus a name. That's my network. But to build that network, I have to go to people that don't even know me. And that's why it's considered, in my mind, aggressive. Again, think like a salesperson. So what do I mean by that with aggressive networking? Well, now, again, another thing that COVID did to help us out, quite honestly. I go in, like I mentioned previously, I'll go into LinkedIn. I'll just type cybersecurity USA and I'll hit enter. And then boom, there's 1 million people that do cybersecurity in the USA. I look at their names. It's also a great way to find new companies because I don't know every company out there. I know the couple that I dealt with. But my point is, I start looking for some names like, hey, that's a good company I totally forgot about. You know, I want to work there. Or, you know, that's a good company. I'll bet you they sell to the companies I want to get into. I need to talk to those people. So in other words, think like you're at a trade show or a corporate event or a conference, right? If you were at a conference 2-day in person at a Holiday Inn in the lobby, are you just a wallflower? You sit there, or are you out there shaking hands, meeting a few people, exchanging business cards, right? That's the way we used to grow our network, was in-person networking. Well, now, since so many companies aren't doing these things, they're using webinars. There's a lot more foot traffic on LinkedIn where salespeople are being salespeople using LinkedIn because they don't have the opportunity to meet people in person. So think like you're at a trade show. So what I do personally is, and I'll get to some little example scripts here in a second, is I just kind of treat this like it's a virtual trade show. It's like if that guy was there and I saw his badge, I would go up and meet him. Okay. The same. So that's kind of where I'm kind of think like a salesperson. You know, how do you approach these, these strangers, right? In my mind, with LinkedIn, like I was saying on LinkedIn, I just search by, if you're an accountant, you type in accountant. Look, see who's there, filter through, scroll through. So I use LinkedIn as my database of reference for people by titles, by companies, specialties in your area geographically. This is where I start to meet. This is where I get my list of strangers. Webinars are another good one. As I mentioned, companies are not having these things every quarter, over at the Marriott and you're invited. They've had to keep business going. So much is on the internet, free webinars show up. Now, this is a great opportunity because one, if it's a webinar in your area, you're going to get timely information. So it keeps you current. There's nothing wrong with that because I've used it on an interview. I had a client ask me, Tom, what do you think about, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity? Normally I would just sit there and go, I'm sorry, my mic's breaking up. I just got off a conference and I was, well, it's interesting. I was on a webinar last week. It keeps you going, but it also allows you to find companies, names, and people, more strangers. right? If you're a member of societies, okay, for me, there's no shortage of them. These are places that are going to have webinars, that are going to have web pages, that are going to have groups and list of people. Even though you're a member, it doesn't mean you know everybody, So again, start figuring out what's going on. Register to attend these webinars, just like here. There's people here I see, I don't know, I see your name. You're going to see this on the webinar. So if you're on an accounting webinar and you're an accountant and there's 20 people attending, what are the odds they're accountants, right? Get those names, because these are people that are strangers, but in your field, okay? Collect the names. Now, how to engage these people. Now, again, there's 100 ways. I'm just going to hit you with what I find works quick and fastest is I use LinkedIn, okay? The older you get, the younger everybody seems to be out there, okay? Not everybody answers the phone anymore. Not everybody has email anymore. I'm not saying don't use them, but I'm just saying in LinkedIn, when you see a person's face, you're going to have the option to message or connect. Okay. Connect means I want to add you to my group of friends. Okay. In this situation, they're a stranger. You want to message these folks and respect a little distance until they know you. The other reason for using the message feature is it's just like email. It tends to have a subject line, so you can put something in there. Why am I emailing you? And you have the ability to attach things. Plus, you don't have a character limitation like you do on Connect. So don't hit the connect button, because that's like, geez, who's this Tom Jackson character that just sent me this connect message? This is how you get blown off. Hit message. So what kind of messages do I type? Honestly, simple, direct, same thing you would say in person. If I find somebody on LinkedIn, and I do this all the time, the first thing I'll say, let's say they're Bill, I'll just say, hello, Bill. What you're trying to do in this email is you're trying to bridge over and show that you have a common interest, a common community of interest. You share common industry background. And in doing so, that allows the person to feel a little more bonded to you, a little more friendly to you, because it's like, oh, well, gee, Tom just told me he's in the industry. One thing I look for is, let's say Jeff was one of the strangers I wanted to meet. If I looked at Jeff and I saw that Jeff and I share 15, 20, 30 common connections on LinkedIn, I'll put that in there. Hey, Jeff, found you on LinkedIn. I just realized, we share 30 common people we work with. When you say stuff like that, mentally, people, you're beginning to close it. They're starting to, not see you as a stranger anymore. They're starting to see you as, gee, somebody I probably just didn't meet, right? This is what, coming from cyber, I'll be honest, this is what, there's a field in cyber called OSINT, OSINT. Almost nobody's ever heard of it, but it's the most devastating form of cyber kung fu. It's basically open system intelligence. Facebook, Twitter. It's basically, this is how hackers find out stuff about you and send you those emails that say, hey, I'm from Microsoft and blah, they're building trust. Okay. You want to build trust. Look at the person. Do you have a contact? Are you in the industry? And basically just tell them that, hey, and I'd really, what you want to do is you want to meet with them to talk shop. That's it. I use this. I literally pasted this out of my notes. This is one I've used over and over. That's simple. Maybe you fill in a few of the parentheses to customize it, but it's really pretty simple. I just want to meet and talk. Hey, by the way, 15 minutes. I'm going to give them a time limit because I don't want, I want to make it short. If you're really connecting, you'll run over, and I can be reached at. Now, one thing I didn't put here, and because I was running out of room on the slide, and this is one thing I emphasize to everybody on LinkedIn is when you have email, you have a signature, right? Probably baked into it. Regards, Tom Jackson. Here's my phone number. Here's my email, right? When you do things in LinkedIn, that's not there anymore. And there's nothing more frustrating than somebody who wants to connect with me and all it says is, thanks, Jeff. Jeff who, I don't have a last name. I don't know you. What's Jeff's phone number? What's Jeff's email? So typically, if I'm Jim Jones, right underneath this, I'm going to have to hand type in my email and phone number. I'm going to treat this because, you know, anytime I communicate with people for the first couple times on LinkedIn and I'm using Messenger, even if they say, hey, Tom, is this okay? I'll respond, yes, that sounds great. Regards, Tom. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. Right? You've got to give them an opportunity or a way to, you know, look you up quickly. But again, simple message. Put this kind of message in, pretty simple. Another one, it's cut and paste of the one above. This is when you go to a webinar. Now, this is one, and I'll kind of foreshadow here a little bit. I use this one very effectively to break the ice, if you would. There was one job I was looking at. There were, you know, the internal HR person. I mean, I could tell they were struggling. The people were busy, blah, blah, blah. And it's been going on for months. Still going on, by the way, but it did work to some degree. The people that I was interviewing with and some of the people that I could tell on LinkedIn that work at the company that are part of this gentleman's sphere of influence, they had a 2-day cyber webinar. So I found it on LinkedIn. It was free. I got on it. And quite honestly, I didn't watch it. But when they posted it, I scrolled through the video quickly, looked for the sections that my contacts were pitching, wrote down a few key notes about it. And then that evening, I went back and sent them. And in this case, I did have their email. One of them I didn't. I sent them an email. And it was basically, you know, hey, Bill, you know, just got off your, you know, company's webinar, you know, great information, blah, 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 you know, really enlightening, you know, the gentleman from Acme you had on your panel that brought up these 3 points. That's just my way of letting them know I saw it, I watched it, and I sent that off to 2 of these people. Next morning, I get an email back from my contact there. Hey, Tom, haven't forgot about you. Just want to let you know there's things, you know. But even my contact went dark on me. And what got him to contact me is I hit these people up. They saw that I was there. I woke them up. I was congratulating them on a great thing. I never said follow up with me. But after you know, in other words, I was using something reasonably aggressive and I was congratulating them on a great webinar. And I made some specific call outs so they knew I was there. And it was enough to get them to, because they were going to read the email because the subject line wasn't, why haven't you called me? It was great webinar. Here's the name of it. And, hey, I'll click on that. Everybody likes congratulations. Immediately I get a, you know, and again, the communications are there. They're just dragging their feet, but at least I'm getting emails, right? So again, you know, simple emails, draw something, you know, we have a lot of contacts. We're in the same industry. You just want to get them on the phone to talk shop. So, you know, how to make this whole thing work, right? You know how to contact them now. You kind of have a script. Well, you know, if you think about it, now comes the fun. Because let's just say I sent off my email, you know, Bob's responded, hey, Tom, yeah, you know, surprising we haven't met. You know, love to talk to you tomorrow at 1. Okay, great. Now what? Right? It's one thing to send these emails. It's another thing because you're going to have a cold call. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If you ask people, would they rather make a cold call or stand up and deliver in public speaking? I guarantee most would say public speaking because at least you know what you're talking about. Cold calls scare people because they don't know what they're saying. They don't know who they're talking to. And it's really stressful. But think of it this way. Really, all you're doing on the phone call, because now the problem is I get Jeff on the phone. Now, there's 2 ways this call goes. I either get on the phone and go, hi, Jeff. And then Jeff goes, well, hello, Tom. And the minute you put a couple seconds of dead air there, Jeff's going to turn around and go, so what's this about? Right? What you want to do is, you know, I say, you know, hi, Jeff. Jeff goes, hey, Tom. I say, hey, Jeff, really glad you taking my time. How things going today? Right? Get a little conversation going. Don't drag it on too long, but get that little good morning, how you doing, just like you would in an interview, right? You know, if you can get them talking about family and kids, you've bonded enough. And at that point, that's where I'll say things like, hey, by the way, just want to let you know why I contacted you. $1 million question. And typically what I'm doing now is that I want to be able to say, you know, Jeff, you know, I see you're in the business just like I am. I'm not going to give them any real big signals that I'm out of work. I'm looking for a job. But what I'm going to try to do here is like in cybersecurity, I see a lot of people talking cloud, and I see you're doing cloud. I'm just curious, what do you see as the biggest challenge? Get them talking about something they know, talking shop. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a good communication, a good dialogue going, just like you would at a trade show, where you're talking, you're sharing opinions, right? Because really, this is where your par shows up again, because they may say, well, Tom, I just think it's overhyped. Well, Jeff, I've seen where I've worked on the cloud, right? You're kind of soft selling yourself here. And then you go through this little dialogue. But what you want to do is get them on, talk to them, bond with them, and get them going. Because remember, just like the old, Wolf of Wall Street, right? It's about them. It's not about you. If you get on there, and the first thing I say to Jeff is, hey, Jeff, you got a great company. Are you guys hiring? I'm looking for a job. Can I send you my resume? Jeff's going to hang up, or most human beings would say, yes, I would, Tom, just to get you to leave. I always equate it to that's closing the door. What I want to do is do what I just said. Get them on, talk to them. This is a person in your wheelhouse. This isn't an interview. You're controlling the conversation. In an interview, they're controlling it. You just want to get them to talk shop. Now, here's what's eventually going to happen, hopefully. I've had these. We get going somewhere down the line, 30 minutes in, maybe, if you got a good conversation, something will come around where they're smart enough to put 2 and 2 together, and then you'll hear these words. So, Tom, are you looking for a job? And it's not busted. The answer is, well, I'm in transition, but I really just wanted to pick your brain, if you would, about cloud cybersecurity. Okay. And then I've had this happen more than once. They'll say, well, Tom, can you send me your resume? Well, no, I don't want to send you my resume. That wasn't the intention of this phone call. I just wanted to pick your, I just wanted to trade some, get some views on cloud cyber, start talking about cyber. Well, Tom, why don't you just send me your resume? Well, I appreciate that, but like I said, I just wanted to talk about cloud cybersecurity. See, what you're doing is it's another psych game, right? Now they want something. I'm going to pull it away a little bit, and then they'll eventually come back, and then send them the resume, but just don't do it on the first pull. And the reason is you want to respect the fact that you didn't call to send a resume. You called to have a discussion. And if they say, send me the resume, say no. And, I'm not saying hell no. I'm just saying, oh, well, that's not why I called. I just really wanted to see where you saw the industry. Then if you can, depending on the conversation, maybe you can then start to move it to, well, gee, what's your company seeing as far as growth in the market? Come up with ways that don't use the word, are you hiring? But this is what you have to do in the cold call. You own the conversation. Get them on the phone, start talking. Talk to them about how's their day, how's the weather, anything. And then tell them, hey, this is why I'm calling before they have a chance. Because that, yes, sir.
Tom, would you send a bio more easily than sending a resume?
Excellent. Yeah, good point. So and that's an excellent one. So if in your Tom Jackson kit, I have my resume, but I also have a 1-page bio. And you touch on kind of the master class there. But yeah, I would tend not to send anything as, I like to look at a resume as, it's kind of got that legal air to it. Some companies, they aren't allowed to receive a resume unless it goes through HR, right? Because otherwise you're bypassing the system and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. But what I normally do, and it's a good one, is I have a 1-page bio I use, and it just hits the high notes because it's a teaser. What I want to do now, and I would prefer the bio, quite honestly, 1-page bio or 1-page whatever, or just, something. And the reason is that then when it comes time to close out on that call, just don't say, hey, thanks, Jeff. This has been great. Goodbye. What I want to say is, hey, Jeff, this has been great. I'll shoot that bio over to you. I'd really like to continue this conversation, Jeff. Would it be okay after I send the bio, maybe to, I'll just come back around and hit you up in a couple days. So is it okay? I'm just going to go ahead and email you, right? Close-ended. Because if I say open-ended, hey, Jeff, is it okay if I call you? Jeff could say, oh, I'm going out of the country for the next 6 months, right? Be close-ended on these things, because that brings me to the next point. How to follow up. So I've got the call. I got, we talked it through. They got my bio. They got my resume, whatever. Now the question is, I haven't heard from Jeff. Now, what do I do? I've been aggressive. I found Jeff. I needle in a haystack. I got an extra contact there, et cetera. Oh, one thing I didn't mention was during that other call, depending on, feel it out. If it feels like it's going good, then say, hey, Jeff, by the way, is it okay if I connect with you on LinkedIn? Then get the connection going. Okay. Don't assume, peeps. You've probably seen it in these, in Career UFW and a lot of people talking, there's more people that just say, oh no, I don't let anybody into my LinkedIn house. So be cognizant of that. Just don't assume that. So ask permission, they'll like it. So how do I follow up? Think like a salesperson. In other words, Jeff's got the, I dropped off the brochure and my product. Now what? In my mind, it's part art, part science. The science is kind of the intervals, what you got to work in. The art part is the finesse. So this tails right into what I was just saying previously. Before I hang up with Jeff, I'm going to have close-ended comments like, I will contact you in 2 weeks. Now, the reason for that is twofold. It's a strategy. Whoops. Sorry. It's a strategy. In other words, never have a phone call or never be on an interview without a strategy. And what I mean by that is you get on an interview, you answer all the questions. It's going great. They love you. And you're just so excited when the call's over. You say, thank you so much. Can't wait to hear back from you soon. Boom. No. Thank you so much. This went so well. Tell you what, I'll reach out to you in, in a week. Or, hey, you told me the process takes a couple weeks, so I'll reach out to you in a week or two. Okay. And then if you really want to get a little more aggressive, you could say, oh, by the way, I know you're busy. If I don't hear from you in a couple weeks, if you have another name like an HR person, is it okay if I get back with Fred? Or who else should I get in contact with? In other words, you want to make sure that when you end that call, you've been planning a solid reason to get back to them. Because if you don't take that first initial strategy, that first initial movement, that's why follow-up's so hard, because nobody ever plants the seed for a reason. And they sit there and go, what am I doing? How do I follow up? That's why it's art and science. You want to make sure that every conversation, and again, when I say close-ended, it's not like, is it okay if I contact you? No, it's close-ended. After I send my resume, I will contact you in 2 weeks. Okay, gee, Tom, that sounds good, right? If I don't hear back from you, I will contact you, right? So in other words, you've really got to make sure that during the interview, at the end of the interview, you make real sure that they're going to come back sometimes and say things like, well, you should hear from us in a couple weeks. Well, the word should, I don't like that. It's not too committal. So then you go, okay, great. So I should hear back from you in 2 weeks. And if I don't, I'll contact you. You see what I'm saying? You just want to set the expectation. I think that's why a lot of people struggle, because they go, oh my God, what do I do now? And so let's move on to my favorite topic. They go dark, right? Now, I'm not saying everything I'm telling you here is just going to score a home run, but if you haven't thought about it, these are kind of techniques and events that at least make it easier for you. You'll be more confident in following up. So think like a salesperson. Number one, be patient and plan. This is where I'm saying planning is key. So when they go dark, this is something that I'm going to talk about that you should have already been doing anyhow. Okay. Again, strategy and art. Number one, what I do is I can't get a hold of Jeff. Jeff just ghosted me. But when we left the call, Jeff's like, dude, I want to hire you. I mean, he gave me no signs that there was a problem, but I can't get a hold of Jeff. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Jeff's profile on LinkedIn, and I'm going to look at Jeff's profile, go down about a third of the way, and it'll say other posts or activities. I'm going to see if Jeff's active on LinkedIn, meaning is Jeff posting on LinkedIn about his company? Is, you know, if Jeff's, most executives like to use LinkedIn for advertising, you know, promote the company. I'm going to look for Jeff. And if Jeff is in fact posting fairly regularly, in other words, if there's a post from 2017, that's not going to work. But if there's a post from March 2021 where Jeff's advertising, you know, hey, our company Acme is making the best brown shoes ever. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that. I'm going to hit a comment and I'm going to say, hey, Jeff, thanks for sharing, you know, the information you talked about on brown shoes, you know, good stuff, thumbs up, hit it. Okay. Why do I do that? Because unless you've been posting on LinkedIn, you're really missing a powerful feature here. Anytime you hit the like button on a comment or comment back to somebody's post, that person will receive an email from LinkedIn saying, you know, Jeff would receive one saying, Tom liked your comment, right? It forces an email through LinkedIn back. It also lets the person, you know, wouldn't Jeff like to have somebody like what he just said, right? So this is a passive way, because notice I'm not asking Jeff, you know, hey, Jeff, where the hell are you? I'm saying, hey, I like your article on brown shoes. That was great. Maybe Jeff looks at it and goes, oh man, I owe Tom a phone call. I've been really busy. That's one way. And you can do this with any number of people at the company if they're posting on LinkedIn. Look them up, do that. Another thing you can do on LinkedIn, you can follow people, you can follow companies. Now, not all these things, you know, you can only follow somebody once. So maybe this is part of your strategy. You hold off on that feature. So in other words, okay, I did this for Jeff. I still don't hear from him. Okay, I'm going to go to the next arrow in my quiver. I'm going to follow Jeff, because when I follow Jeff, Jeff's going to get another email. Tom Jackson's now following you. You know, wow, Tom, yeah, I really got to get a hold of that guy. Okay. Another thing to think about here is, what I like to do, and this is the third one. This one takes a little more work. It's sharing. Okay. So think about it this way. If you aren't posting on LinkedIn, you should be. Posting is where you focus on your wheelhouse. I focus on cybersecurity. I post every day. How do I get those articles? Well, first thing I'm going to do to share is I want to share something from the industry, something professional, but I don't have anything to share. Where am I going to get it? I'm going to go to this little thing called google.com/alerts. There's other RSS or Feedly is another one, but google.com alerts is a great starting point. You go there, it's free. Google Alerts, little bar comes up and it says, what do you want to know? Well, guess what I do? I type cybersecurity in. I type in different keywords for my industry, and every day Google sends me a link, a page back, an email that has all the news posts for those keywords. So if you put people in, companies in, different key areas, specialties you do, you will get everyday postings. And what I do with those postings is I use those postings, those articles. I click the hyperlink, I read it. If it looks good, I post it in LinkedIn. I'm sharing back to the community. But I also, every once in a while, will get an article and I'm like, hey, there's an article here on brown shoes. Boom, I'm going to hit Jeff back. Hey, Jeff, I just wanted to share with you this great article I found on brown shoes. So again, you know, art and science, right? This is what salespeople do in big accounts. You know, they're going to go out just like a hacker and they're going to try to learn everything they can about you so that they can kind of communicate, you know, indirectly. So again, you know, what you want to do is go in, find strangers, reach out to them, send them a message. Don't try to connect. In that message, just be brief. Hey, I just want to talk shop. And when you get them on the phone, you know, don't freeze up. Just say, hey, Jeff, great. So glad you took the time. Here's what I wanted to talk to you about. Because the minute you do that, Jeff's now in the listen mode, not the, why the hell are we here, right? And then if they go dark, it takes a little more effort. You're going to have to dig in. You want to share information back. You want to go comment on their LinkedIn. This is, and again, rinse and repeat. Now, in some cases, in my case, I mentioned I went to an online webinar. That's basically what I'm talking about here. It was enough to get the group, to get the dark matter shaken up, that somebody there went, oh hell, we have to get back to Tom. We haven't talked to him in 2 weeks and he's been patient. So this is what it takes. Little extra effort, plus the side benefit is if you're doing this and you're posting already, you have all the ammo you need. So again, do it. You know, rinse, repeat, right? You got to, you know, not everything's as easy as an email, and you just have to think, you know, it's in my world. If I'm sending Jeff an email and Jeff sees my name, it's implied that I'm looking for a job. So how do I ask about what the hell's going on without saying what the hell's going on? And this is how you do it, the passive aggressive way, sharing articles, commenting, liking their post. All of this stuff drives an email to their inbox. This is how you start getting traffic to them. They'll start thinking and remembering you. Let me see, contact. Let me see, this is kind of a little bit of a blip I have. I know I'm looking at our time here. So this is kind of a side note, but I just wanted to mention it here because it does have to do with networking to a degree. So, you know, previously, you know, we talked quickly about, you know, the passive, active, and aggressive networking. So let's take a look at kind of a one-off topic, networking and the job. Okay. So in other words, what we've been talking about is trying to find somebody, get a network, get a bond, and it takes time, folks. It really does take time. And then maybe that person can be your contact for a future job or can be an intro for a future job. You know, you got to start planting the seeds. But let's just say, as we speak right now, you're in LinkedIn, the perfect job shows up. And you know that the odds are with you if you have a network contact. But what Tom just told me is going to take me 3 weeks to do. And oh my God, this isn't. Here's what you do. Again, be aggressive, be assertive, be creative. Here's what I do. Think like a salesperson. Salespersons overcome challenges every day. Number one, if I find a job right now on LinkedIn today, I apply for it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Why? Because the first thing you have to keep in mind, unless you apply, you may not, you know, they typically are going to look at the first 20, 25, 50 applicants. You've got to make that cut. Number two, it may not be up for more than a day. And if I wait to get a network contact, it could be a week. And if I find the network contact, yeah, they may be able to, but here's what I do to streamline things here. First thing I do is I apply. Yeah, this is a company I don't know about. I don't have a clue who works there. I'm going to apply right now. Second thing I'm going to do in LinkedIn, I'm going to go into LinkedIn and I'm going to type in LinkedIn at the top, the company name, and then the word recruiter. Acme Recruiter. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to come down and it's more than likely going to show me 2, 3, 4, 5 names of recruiters that work at Acme. So what do I do now? That's my network contact, folks. I'm going to take another complete stranger that works in recruiting, and I'm going to go ahead, number 3, and I'm going to send them a LinkedIn message. And here's an exact LinkedIn message as I've used, and it works. I just go in there and go, you know, let's just say Bob's the name of one of the recruiters. So I go, hello, Bob, I'm reaching out to you, Jack Me for VP of Operations. Always, always, always include the URL. You know, when you click in LinkedIn, it's going to take you normally to the company website. Make sure that the URL you're giving them is the company's URL for the job posting. The reason for that is, one, it shows that you went to, you know, it has the impression that you went to their website to find it. But number 2, it's going to have all the critical information they need. The job posting, the rec number, whatever some of the hieroglyphics are. So what I do is I put that URL in there. I just do a quick sales point. Hey, is this really a particular interest to me? And what I do here, because remember, I've already applied, which means they've already got my resume. So what I've done is I've aggressively found a contact stranger that works in recruiting. that may or may not be working on this job. And I'm just setting the stage for it. I found it, I like the job, and I send them, this is where I use a T letter. This is where your T letter works best, because the T letter helps de-risk it. You're talking about what you can do, and that's what you do. In other words, I do this all the time. And then while this email is sent, I'm doubling down, go back to the other slides, and now I'm going back trying to find another contact. But this is one way to apply and get your information right in front of a recruiter. The reason I like this method is one, they like it. You show a little aggressiveness, but two, I'm not overstepping my bounds. And if it's posted, it's a job they want to fill. And if I can bring me to the attention, maybe I was applicant number 50 and maybe Bob's like, well, you know, Tom saved me from having to log on to click in the system to look for him. Gee, I like Tom's T letters, to the point. Yeah, it looks like he's got 4 years degree and has the necessary years. Boom, you'll get a call. So again, quick way to de-risk, same day with a LinkedIn contact. So that's really it. We got 5 minutes. I apologize. I wanted to give you a few more minutes, but essentially
Okay,
what I'm
we can go to like 2:15. That's how I
Okay,
advertise.
okay,
So,
okay. So like I said, I flew through a lot of it, you know, and again, this is from a sales perspective, over time, it's, you've seen good salespeople, you've seen bad salespeople, right? There's a fine line between aggressive and, passive aggressive, I guess. But like I said, think like a salesperson. How does that salesperson sell more product? That they only do it by meeting strangers. Well, if you think about it, you're selling yourself, and your network is only as good as how many strangers you've converted to friends that you have in LinkedIn. And that's where really, in my mind, networking is. It's going beyond the people you already know or who Jeff might be able to introduce me to, because I've known Jeff for 15 years. I need to go find the other Jeff, the one I don't know. This is kind of what you do. So really think like a salesperson, be creative. There's no rules here. Priorities are one I always hear and I don't quite understand personally. I like to say there's 24 hours a day, then there's the none. What I mean by that is do not be wasting daylight hours applying for jobs on a computer. This is prime stranger candidate finding time. This is when you're working phones, working the emails. This is when real people are there that you want to connect with. And then once the workday's over, then go to the computer. Update stuff, retype in your resume, apply for the jobs. I see people get it completely backwards. They're doing all their computer work during the day and then they go, but there's nobody around at night, obviously, right? Multitask. I see a lot of people who treat this like a serial job function. It may be a byproduct of how you worked in the past, but you're going to need, if you don't know, you do know now, you need to be able to juggle a lot of balls. And just sitting here going, I found, one job and I'm going to interview and just focus on it. My unidentified, focus and concentration is not going to convert that one job to a win for me. I've got to have a lot of them. So multitask. Persistence pays, right? Patience too. And I know some people go, what do you mean by that? You got to be persistent, but you also got to be patient. What I mean by that is you don't send an email every day. You don't send one every week. You have to be patient, but make sure you got the persistence in there. And lastly, if you're new to sales or if you're just, gee, Tom, this all sounds wonderful, but gosh, I can't do it. My words of advice are get comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you still struggle with what I'm saying here, go back to like my first, second, or third slide. Start taking on all those crazy phone calls you get that are calling you right now. They're great practice. They're great confidence builders, because think about it. The phone rings, you don't know who it is, you pick it up. Two, you haven't had time to prepare for your interview. This is what you need to be off balance, to get good at what you do. And once you get confident, where you almost find it fun to get these people on the phone. That's what I mean. To me, it's almost a blood sport. They call me and I'm like, I'm on it. I pick up the phone and game on. Once you get there, the rest of this stuff's easy. Okay. But like I said, you're at work, it's a stranger. You probably would have met him at a trade show and you probably would have struck up this conversation. The only difference is nobody's going to trade shows now. So everything's done virtually. Questions?
Is that the last slide? Okay,
That's fine.
let's see.
Yeah,
the-
question slide. There you
Questions.
go.
Okay, first question I have from Tom. I want to gain experience as a product owner. Do you have any suggestions on where I can zero cost intern to gain experience? No cost to the client.
So, yeah, that's a good one. So you want to go internship route. So, surprisingly enough, I've had some friends of mine because I worked at EY in the Big Four. They're big on internships. Internship is a searchable job thing in LinkedIn, especially as summer's coming on. Companies right now have companies that have an official internship program. The only thing I'm familiar with, they tend to be in the hiring mode right now because they want to staff it up so when school gets out, they can roll their summer college kids in. That's typically the best ones I find. As far as, gee, I'm 50 and I want to be an intern and I want to do it with this specific company. Really, the only thing you can do there is again, be creative. Go to LinkedIn, type in the company, type in the recruiter. And instead of sending them, I just applied for the job, send them that network email. Hey, I found you on LinkedIn. You've got a company, love to chat with you about, about internship prospects. That's what it takes, right? A stranger and an Indian.
All
Not
right.
sure if that answered it perfectly, but that's what I would do.
All right, that's Tom's presentation. That's as far as we're going to show it today. I'm sorry about the background noise. I'm at a convention in San Antonio. And so if you heard other noises in the background, I'm right next to a headshot booth where they're taking pictures. And there's two other speakers that are talking here. So I just want to make it a little bit, like I say, I apologize for the background noise. So I thank Tom for his presentation. If you want to reach out to Tom, here's his LinkedIn profile. You're welcome to do so. Just send him a personal note. Let him know that you saw him here today speaking about networking. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, PJ Dunn will be with us to talk about Clifton Strength Finders and Core Clarity. If you haven't taken Clifton Strengths, I really think it's a important tool for your job search. It's one of the 3 books that I highly recommend that you take. So if you can, please join us tomorrow morning at 9:30. Next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesdays, Ruth Lipsky will be with us to talk about how to drive recruiters to your LinkedIn profile. And then next Wednesday, actually this slide's no longer valid because we actually have a real practice interview. You'll be able to watch Chad Hines, who's with us today. He will be actually doing an interview, doing a practice interview next Wednesday. So instead of watching session number 2, you'll get to see a real practice interview. It will not be recorded. So if you want to watch it, you do need to watch it live next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And then next Thursday, being the 5th Thursday, I'm going to do a presentation on successful job searches, focus on these 4 areas. So please join us next Thursday at 1 o'clock. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, please do so. You don't have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. Currently over 14,600 members. I think we're going to hit 14,700 members here in the next day or two. We're getting really close. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, just click on networking, click on playlist and then networking. And then once that's over with, once you're done, click on the red arrow at the bottom and up will come all the different topics and titles and people who have talked, and you're welcome to go back and watch any of those at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just send an email to Career USA, +, subscribe at groups.io, and we'll get you signed up. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. All of our speakers are volunteers. Everything I've done over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Thursday afternoon. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning. Goodbye from San Antonio.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I had a quick